Hi there foodies, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe to be notified of future videos. Hi, my name is Nadine and today I would like to show you how you can make a tartlet. And we are actually not only going to make a tartlet, we make a sweet pastry tartlet with a chocolate ganache inside. Something sweet, delightful to make everyone happy. Alright, I have 3 ingredients for my sweet pastry. And I always call them my 1, 2, 3 ingredients recipe, which is 1 part of sugar, 2 parts of flour and 2 parts of butter and 3 parts of flour. And we will add 1 egg to this. So I have my butter already melted a little bit and or not melted, just softened up a little bit. And the best is room temperature. So if you plan to bake, leave your butter outside overnight and then you don't need to work too hard. And we are going to cream this with our whisk. The sugar we are using is Castor Sugar, which is a much finer sugar, so this is much better to use when you are baking, and obviously normal ordinary flour. Okay, so we're gonna start. I'm gonna have a nice balloon whisk. Balloon whisk working much better in pastry because you can make it much more creamy. So I'm gonna take my spatula out. We will need that a bit later again. And I'm going to cream this. So I'm using unsalted butter, much better for baking. So salted butter is rather for your cooking. Unsalted is the one which you're using for your baking. You can use a machine for this if you don't have so much power in your hands. And you will see the more you're actually creaming it, the whiter and lighter your butter will become. So I think that is good as it is. And I'm going to add my sugar to this. So when you bake, always cream, sugar and butter together. So we're going to add all of this. So I'm using in my recipe 125 sugar to 250 butter and 375 flour plus 1 egg. Okay, so the best is you do this up to 5 minutes. It is a nice workout for you, and you're waiting until all your sugar has basically nicely dissolved. So at that point, we're gonna add now our egg. So that means I have to break my egg first in a separate dish in order to mix the yellow and the white. And we're going to add this thing just now. Always break your egg in a separate dish. Never straight into the butter. If you have a rotten egg or if you have some eggshell or something in, it's not a good idea. So now I'm just gonna break it and mix it up. If you, however, decide you want to double or triple that recipe, only add 1 egg at a time and then you add some flour. I'm gonna add half of this egg first, then I'm adding some of the flour, half of the egg again. Okay, so now this whisk is obviously not the right one anymore. You can see it's stuck to middle. So if you feel like at any point it makes a problem to the dough mixture, take your whisk out and we continue with a different tool to do that. You probably wondered, why did I not sieve my flour or anything? I did not sieve this flour, but obviously in all the baking recipes you always find like sieve your flour. The reason for this is when you buy flour and you don't bake regularly, in the cupboard it could become clumpy, so it is better to sieve it, but because I bake so much, I'm just using it as it is. For if you want it very fine, yes, sieve it, but in this case you really don't need to. Okay, and I'm gonna add now my rest of the flour. You could also add some vanilla or lavender or whatever flavor you would like. I'm not adding anything. I'm keeping this very plain. Okay, when it looks like this, because when you make it, if you make it in the machine, obviously it's easy, you just throw it in, the machine mixes for you. But if you do it by hand and it looks more or less what it looks like now, we're gonna put it onto the table and we finish it on the table. and we are kneading it. But when you knead not as much as you did with the bread or with the pasta, it's just gently combining everything. Please don't add any extra flour in between or on top if you think it's too sticky, otherwise you become a very tough pastry. Okay, when you have your dough ready, you need to let it rest in between. And because I struggle sometimes with the rolling out, I don't have the power for it. I'm actually making it flat and I wrap it in some plastic wrap and I let it rest for 1 day, so not 1 day, 1 hour in the fridge. But you could let it rest as well for a day if you plan to bake the next day, at least you have it ready. Voila! So now I have these wrapped and packed, and I'm going to let them rest in the fridge so that they become nice and, what's it called? Don't know the English word now. So they're easy to roll out. My pastry has nicely rested. So now I've dusted my table and I added my pastry on top. And now we are going to roll it out nicely. So when you roll out, always start from the middle and go to the outside. If you find it's too cold, let it stand outside a bit so it's not too chill, and you can start. When you are almost there, take a spatula and loosen the pastry from the base of the table. If you find it needs more flour, add some more flour. And before you start cutting it out, use again your spatula to loosen it up completely from the table. Oops, and I broke it. Okay, now I have a ring cutter which is slightly bigger than my tartlet, and I'm going to start cutting out my pastry, and then we can finish it. Silly me, not enough. Okay, so now take the rest of the pastry, you can re-roll this out, and then we can continue. When you spray, make sure you spray 30 centimeters away and that it's really well sprayed. Okay, so now we are lining our pastry tartlets, and that's usually where the problem comes in. So now the pastry tartlet, my pastry is nice and soft, so it's easy to work. Put it inside, let it fall inside, very gently, so it's all on the base, and you gently tap it to the outside. Okay, so you want to have a nice even top rim around. So you're pushing it from the bottom with your thumb to the top. There's two ways how you can finish it. Some people, they prefer to use a knife or a little spatula. I prefer to use my thumb. And you have the perfect light out tartlet case. Okay, so let me finish them quickly, and then I will show you the next step. Alright, so now we have lined all our pastry, as you can see, and this is called lining, and now we are going to dock them. So docking means you're using a fork and you're pushing pushing little holes into the pastry, but not right through. It's just a little bit. This will help that your pastry is not going to rise up in the middle, and then we're going to blind bake them. So my oven is already on 180 degrees, so it can heat up, and let's dock them. Okay, finished docked, And then I have something which I make myself. You can buy marble beans, or baking beans they call them, little marbles, or you can just make something yourself, tinfoil, put something inside, and you put this on top of your pastry. So this will help that your pastry gets blind baked and stays down where it's supposed to be. So I keep them as I'm baking a lot, so I have a couple of them just ready on hand, and I pop them on. If your pastry is, however, too soft, pop this tray back into the fridge or freezer just for a few minutes while your oven is heating up, and then it gets baked. Right, now we're going to put them in 180 degrees. And we put the timer on 12 minutes. And let's see how they will look in 12 minutes. Okay, my time is up. Let's have a look. And I can see it's nice and I wouldn't say brown, but nice color. And at this point, and I'm going to take this out of the oven, I don't want to burn myself. I'm going to take all these little blobs off, and I'm just putting this, very hot, back for just a half a minute to make sure the middle part is cooked as well. Because this is blind baked, so that means we're going to put something in which doesn't need to be cooked. So this will just dry it out a bit, so half a minute is more than enough time. So now it just needs to bake for another half a minute, so it dries out the pastry, because we're going to put something in which doesn't need to be cooked, so it's basically a blind baked tartlet. In fact, I left it for 1 minute now, and I'm going to take it out, and I know it's going to be ready. So these are our lovely tartlets. And I will show you in the next video, in part 2, how you can make them chocolate tartlets with a nice chocolate ganache. But you could use these tartlets as a base for milk tart, or for a lemon meringue tart, anything what you want to fill basically inside here. So have fun with baking, and thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate all your views, and I hope you like it, and you can maybe give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Please let me know in the comments below how this recipe worked out for you. If you have any suggestions or anything what you would like to see in the future, please leave me a comment below. I'm happy to do this for you. Please subscribe to my channel to be notified of future videos.